feels like a gift to be like, this is a space where we can really individualize and tailor this form of support to you. And this is an approach to therapy that's designed to work with your mind, to work with you. I'm not trying to fit you into a model. I'm not trying to put you in this box over here. Have you tried taking a deep breath like this?
Hey, welcome. Welcome to Metamorphosis Moments, the show where we discuss rapid transformational therapy and coaching modalities and the profound impact it has on the transformations of our clients. Today, I am talking with none other than Josephine Knechtli from the UK. And Josephine works a lot in the realms of ADHD and autism, among other things. So today we're going to discuss a lot of things about rapid transformational therapy and how we work with our clients into that amazing transformative space that we achieve. So welcome to my show, Josephine, and I'm so happy to have you here with me today.
Let's forget all of this. Let's really go through all of the experiences that you've had in your life, all the way that you've been let down and people didn't understand what you need in terms of getting your needs met, being understood, being safe to express yourself. And let's work in a way that's really going to honor who you are now and what it is that you're looking forward to. And I love it because I'm sure you have this as well. So many people like, yeah, talk therapy doesn't work for me. I can intellectualize my problems. I understand what the issue is here, but there's a block there. And then by going into that subconscious, we can unlock that block and really move in a way that feels great. And I even had these conversations with myself, like, look, maybe we won't be able to resolve like every single aspect of this ADHD experience that we're living in, but look at how far we have come in the 3 years of doing this. Look at how much we have been able to create safety, to regulate and understand what this really means. And then even with things like healing vortex, to bring in a framework which helps the body to feel safe and to feel calm and to feel secure. Because I know with me, like so often in the past, of course I couldn't prove to be like so basic. Of course I couldn't concentrate. I needed to be constantly being so hyper vigilant around everything. I didn't feel safe enough to just drive my focus into one space. And then the things that I could hyper focus on, they were kind of like co-opted good activities that other people approved of me doing. And I was like, okay, so how can we install that sense of safety within me so I can still weaponize, which I'm interested in doing in all of these things. How can we weaponize the hyper focus, weaponize the aggressive interest in things to both benefit clients? But yeah, that's me going on a tangent.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And I love that idea of weaponizing that perceived limitation or defect, or however a person would describe it from a non-neurodivergent view. So if you have this hyperfixation, hyperfocus, it's not attention deficit, it's the opposite. It's an intense focus, but on a very specific thing. If you need a problem solved, you need a person with ADHD. If you're like all of these things, you know, this person is the one that's going to jump in and fix it, and like a bulldog, not let go of it until they fix it, because they're obsessed. They can't stop. Once they dig into that problem, they're going to fix it. So it isn't a bad thing. It's just if you need them to do 28 other things while they're also doing it, they're probably not going to be able to do that for you, because it's a hyperfixation on something. And if it engages the mind, it's something that you can really, you know, dig into and you're fascinated with and you can't stop. And pulling yourself away from that is difficult when you're really intensely, you know, interested in a problem, right? So is it a bad thing to be that way? No. No more than it is to not be that way. I mean, it's just being different, right? It shows up in different times in different ways for different people. but there's nothing, I think, we view being ADHD or autistic or any of those dynamics as being somehow a defect, and that is not at all true.
Yeah, that's too savage. Defects feels so savage. For
There's
me,
nothing wrong with you. It's just your brain functions differently than other people. Does it mean it's abnormal? No. Who says, the neurodivergent brain is the one that's got something wrong with it? Maybe it's the other ones. I mean, it's all how you look at it. It's perspective, right?
Completely. I think it's interesting how we started this conversation on, how people are so scared of their subconscious mind. I often find that, like, me and my friends who experience these things, I always say, for me, like, it's like the human experience, but like dialed up. You're going to really feel your feelings. If you're going to have health issues, there's going to be a whole load of comorbidities. Like, it's really like life out loud. And like you say, it is funny how people who don't experience that, probably are quite reserved and suppressed, are going to see someone maybe stimming or being loud or really expressive, like, and they're going to be like, oh, that's a threat to me because I'm not safe to do that. So you're not safe to do that. But I think I spend a lot of time, especially when I start working with clients, really validating what they have moved through so far, because I think when we don't understand what's going on and we don't have a relationship with ourselves in a positive way, it is so painful, and life like is so hard. Like, I do know for me, after I kind of learnt the language around ADHD and autism, found RTT, which really I'm glad I discovered before all of these things, like, life was impossibly difficult all the time. So I think it's good to like validate and be like, well, when we don't have the resources and the support that we need, like, life is not easy. Like, so many people find it so hard to work or connect or to feel like they belong in the world. And then once we start to have that relationship with ourselves, whether that's through like learning about different things or working with our subconscious mind, ideally all of it, it's just fascinating how much is unlocked. And then we can feel safe and supported to really like go gold and be like, do you know what? I'm obsessive about health stuff. I'm obsessed with RTT and the subconscious mind. Let's learn how to build a life that works around this. And like, do I get fired from every coffee shop job that I do because I'm so dyspraxic and drop things? Yes. Let's remove the guilt and the shame. Move to like, right, we can mold and sculpt a life that supports myself and then positions us to support other people. And then things get interesting with all the changes involved.
I think that's really beautiful. I love this metaphor of unlocking. And I often think of it like, your RTT is a set of keys. And the different emotions and feelings and beliefs and what have you in the mind are locked doors, and we go in there with this set of keys and we're unlocking the doors and we're opening those doors, throwing them wide so that we have full access. It's up to the client to actually step through the door and look around and then decide what to do with what they find. It's not magic. We're not doing something to the client. We're just guiding them through their own subconscious to help them make sense of it, to create connections or disconnections, as the case may be. So, if you're trying to break a habit like smoking or binge eating or whatever, you're disconnecting a behavior, a belief from an activity. But in other cases, you're trying to make connections. And it enables them to see things differently, to help them navigate a problem or to find a solution or just to live more free of whatever demons they seem to have and to release all of that. And it all stems from this unlocking.
No, I love this. And I enjoy that so much as well, the aspect of like, right, we're working together, we're on a team. There's no hierarchy, like I'm here and the client's here and like I'm healing you. No. I'm holding the space, I'm guiding this, I'm keeping this rolling. But it's that opportunity for clients to make the difference and the change. Again, like we're so led to, I even read like the level of outsourcing that we've been conditioned and programmed to believe that we need in order to optimize and feel better is wild. And I think it's becoming less and less now, but like I saw my grandma today, who's from like the doctor is God generation, and she had this plaster on her arm. I was like, Jane, why have you got a plaster on your arm? She's like, oh, like I had a vaccine last week. And I'm like, yeah, but should we take the plaster off now? And she goes, no, best to wait for the doctor to take off the plaster. And I was like, damn, like this is so fascinating that is the perfect example of how we've been conditioned to go, oh no, I can't even remove this piece of microfour tape because it needs to be connected. And I love how in RTT, like you say, it's like, let's unlock this door. I'm going to take you in the room. I'm going to be holding the space, supporting you within this space. You're going to be the one making the outcomes.
Yeah.
It's you. And I think for me, that meant so much, like knowing my early therapy experiences, it very much felt confusing because I wasn't empowered in any way, shape or form. You're sitting opposite, again, this beige, boring person who doesn't react to anything you tell them and going, right, are you going to give me some answers, or are we just going to keep thinking about what I've done this week, trying not to destroy
nattering
my life
on about whatever, things you're thinking, and you get nothing. I mean, I don't have the same experience with my therapist. She'll be like, she's a little different, but I hear this from clients as well when they go see their therapist, and they're seeking advice, they're seeking help, they're seeking feedback, they're seeking answers. But is it necessarily the right place to go to therapy to get those answers? Yes and no. But when you say, to a therapist, I'm having this problem in my life, what should I do? Well, what would you like to do? Or it's always these non-committal answers that they're getting back, because the therapy is designed to get the client to come up with their own answers, right? And to some degree, RTT does that. But we're more actively guiding them than a traditional talk therapist is going to be. They're just a sounding board, and they don't necessarily tell you what to do. And in many cases, the client wants someone to help them figure it out, or they wouldn't be there.
Like, ask a direct question. I think that's one of my, I keep saying I love, and that's my favorite. I'm sorry, I'm ignoring that, but I love the aspect of going, right, the reason I feel this is, finish that sentence, and the reason I do this is, and like I really go for, like we're building this chain of like, this is how I felt, and this is why, and this is why, and this is how, and it's like and it's brilliant because clients, you have that moment where clients go, I know what we're doing now and I'm into this, let's go, like let's chase almost rabbit hole, and look, we've just had a chain of insights and ways to understand myself. Brilliant. Right, next scene. Like, I love that aspect so much. And people walk out like, it makes sense. I had no understanding of why I was the way I was before. And not only do I have the understanding, we've gone and run through it, and now I've released that response, that reaction that was showing up for me for reasons I now understand, and we can move forward. And it's like, yeah, we can. We don't have to be stuck in this paradigm of like, this is the way that it is. Everything happens for a reason, so I must like very chastely suffer for always. It's like, no, let's move. Let's go.
You don't like it, you don't have to stay there. You don't have to stay. You don't have to keep experiencing. And it's so interesting, when you can very quickly, without a lot of intentional, rational thinking, just come up with answers when you're speaking to somebody under hypnosis, and these answers come and they begin to start understanding them on a whole different level.
Like everyone's so quick to be like, trauma, have you read The Body Keeps Score? So amazing, Bessel van der Kolk. But then they like leave it there. It's like, right, the body does keep score, correct? How Absolutely. Are we going?
Great book, by the way. But
But I think even Bessel was saying, like, look, there's going to be a huge renaissance for hypnotherapy as a real, true, honest, and valid therapeutic. It's finally going to kind of like have its day, because we are moving further and further into like, right, I am holding the trauma in my body. I can't talk as my throat in this state of mind. But like you say, as soon as we're dropping into these deeper, more expansive states of mind, states of being, then there's space to tune in and be like, right, I'm the part of this cyst, of this acne, of this chronic pain. This is why I'm here. This is what I'm trying to do. And I agree with you. I think it's so insightful and it's so phenomenal. And I love as well that when we're working with the subconscious, we don't have to like relive each and everything that ever happened, because when we're compelling and, as we know, commanding the subconscious mind to reprocess, let's remove the emotional attachment to this journey, you can move on very quickly. So like for me, the other day I had my own hypnotherapy session, and it was all about this, you know, when you're at kind of our level, you're looking at really like peculiar things. And it was like this pain in my neck. And I had an experience similar to your client, where I was like, right, what is it that you're doing, seeing, feeling? And I was like, well, for the first time, I can't see anything. And they were like, right, stick it on a screen. And I was like, perfect. The screen is pixelated, but the part of me that's been protecting me, I'm sitting next to them and they are viewing this for me. And it was, Tricia, it was so...
Oh, wow. That's a great idea.
We were doing this whole, like, essentially like a trauma release, trauma processing journey, where I'm sat in a cinema. I can't see the screen, but I'm so hyper aware. And I was instructing the part of me, the protector part, to review and to release and do all the things. And it felt so empowering, because I knew that work was being done. I had like a rough understanding of what it could be, but instead of forcing, as maybe a different therapeutic modality would be, to like look at the thing, it's like, we've got a system, and it's doing its job, and now it's finished its job and it can leave, and now we've got space. And I cannot tell you, I'm like you were saying, after that first RTT session, I'm walking around my hometown feeling completely different. I feel lighter in my body. And it's like, damn, like I didn't have to wade into the trenches and essentially re-traumatize myself. The subconscious mind was doing its thing. We let it complete its job. And now it gets to be like a fascinating story. But yeah, I just needed to share that, because I'm still like, this is so interesting. Like, that's wild.
I hadn't thought of that. I have used a movie screen, you know, like you're in a movie theater and maybe you fly backwards up into the projection room and you're watching your life on the screen. And then you can imagine yourself flying backwards and forwards from the audience to the projection and back and forth. And maybe you go up into the projection booth and now you're running your life in reverse and you get to this moment. And then, you know, and we play with that. So it's almost like separating you from the life, from the events, from the pain, from the event, whatever it is, you're just viewing it. And I think that metaphor of the movie theater and the screen and running it backwards and forwards. And then at some point when they feel safe, we can step into the screen and become one of the actors in the movie, right? And then we can experience it, and maybe we can even change the way we remember it, altering something there that was particularly painful, or releasing it. Or maybe we get to say something to the person that hurt us while we're in that movie of our life, right? So you can change the dialogue around the hurt. And somehow that enables them to work through that trauma. And I've done that a number of times with trauma clients.
It is interesting.
It's kind of beautiful.
Do you have any non-trauma clients? Because I don't think I do at all. Really? But I think that's what I love about this, is that we are creating that space where we can, like we've said, like, you know, like review and resolve things that otherwise you could just be in forever. And like, even selfishly, I'm so grateful for it, because I think otherwise I would still be on my knees to life for like many different reasons. But it's so, I just find it endlessly interesting to be like, we create these reactions and these responses to the myriad of things that happen within our life, but we really do get to change it. And I'll put my hands up, some things that I've experienced in my life have needed like sessions to move through. And
Right.
today they're like little pieces that pop up, but it's different now. You know, I can think about things that have happened in the past. There's no rushing response. It's more a, damn, I've got empathy for that version of me there, but also being, also I love, you know, you're like reintegrating parts of yourself. Like, come on, 21-year-old me, put the cigarette out. We're together now. It's so interesting.
It is. It's fabulous. I just love it. I do, you know, to answer your question, I do see clients that are not trauma based for sure. I mean, I'm not going to turn away somebody if they want to work with me. I'll work with them. Most of my clients are narcissistic abuse. It's interesting though, because oftentimes they don't come to me for narcissistic abuse recovery. They come to me because they're anxious. They come to me because they're depressed, or they're stuck, or, you know, some other presenting problem that they're struggling with. And of course, when we get into the regression, it goes right back to childhood where that abuse began. Maybe it's, you know, adult relationships that were abusive, whatever it is, they come to play in the party that we create. And all of those things come forward, and you start enabling them to connect that trauma with the presenting issue they came in with. And you see what drives it and why you're stuck on it and why you can't let go of it. And then you let go of it.
Yeah,
but yes, it often takes a number of sessions, especially with trauma. I think usually 3 to 4 or 5 sometimes.
Yeah, especially like the narcissistic piece, it is that unfurling of all the things. But I do think that things for heavy hitters like narcissistic abuse, for like those heavy hitter things, I think that is where that subconscious RTT approach is such a blessed approach. Because I know for me, I would be way less, I'd just, yeah, like I said, be on my knees had it not for been that RTT approach of like, right, this has happened. It's not a good thing in any way, shape, or form. However, let's get back that sense of self, that safety, all the things. Whereas I think like for especially things like narcissistic abuse, if you were just talking about it forever, you don't get, I mean, that's
no, and you actually, it's kind of a danger zone, because the more you talk about the trauma, then the more stuck you are with it, the harder it is to get rid of it. And you begin to identify as an abuse victim or whatever. And you're trying to move past it to let go of it. But you also have to understand why you allowed it, why you participated, why. It's all about the why. So once you understand that, then you can begin to move forward and walk past it. And it is no longer about the abuse per se. It's about why you didn't see it, why you allowed it, why you stayed, why you didn't leave, why, right? And when you can get over those whys, you can let go of them. And then you also will heal, and you will feel comfortable knowing that, yes, it is safe to date. It is safe to, you know, whatever it is you want in the future. You're not going to find yourself with another narcissist. It just won't happen, because you understand why you did it to begin with. Therefore, you'll see it coming like a glowing red flag.
Honestly, I think that was one of my like best moments in my personal journey of like healing and retribution. I met this guy who was like very love bomby, and I think within 48 hours I had lightly just essentially tested this man. So he just outed himself in like full narc mode, whereas, you know, obviously, as we know, normally that could take months or years. And I was like, okay, we've made progress. My radar is tuned in. Like, this is not, like you say, like, this is not happening again. And it's fascinating, isn't it? Because then it takes, with everything that we experience, it takes it from being a hurt and just a harm to like, oh no, this is now like this is lessons learned, things gained. Perfect. We're kind of building that foundation from so much more of a stronger place. And as my thought in my head is like, I'm so jealous of, you know, like the 7-year-olds to get to do RTT. Imagine being 7 years old and you've got that. Yeah. So like, this is why I'm scared of going to school. This is why I'm terrified of being sick, for example. It's excellent.
Yeah. Have you worked with kids?
I love it.
Do you?
So good.
I have not done children, and it's not my niche. It's not what I feel comfortable with. I like kids. I have kids. They're grown-ups now, but it's not that. I just don't, that's not where my head is. I would strongly encourage anybody whose child is having an issue to get to an RTT therapist. It's just probably not me. I would refer them, hey, call Josephine.
Ideally with parents, like I always want to work with the parents first, because I know it sounds like slightly savage, but I know for me, just in what I've experienced and like me myself, if a child is experiencing something that's to the point where they're like, oh, this child needs therapy, let's look at the environment and what's going on.
Exactly.
It's a conversation that's coming up again and again at the moment, but I think we are moving into a point in the world excellently where like the mother archetype, the literal mothers of the world are like, do you know what? It is my time too now. I am going to look after me and I'm going to process all of these and really look out for me as number one. And I do not have children, but it's just like, yes, yes. No more martyrdom, like forget that. It didn't get us very far. Look after you, like support the mother and the whole family's thriving as a result, because these are our true leaders in this day and age.
Well, and I think the mother always gets a bad rap, anytime somebody's got an emotional problem, it's like your mom fucked you up. Like it's not that. It's not always that. Is it sometimes? Yes. But it can just as easily be, other things. It could be bullies at school. It could be any number of things.
I do find like all of my clients are either ADHD or autistic, and it's such a gift to come into that space and honor that people are coming into a space where they're understanding themselves more, and that we have more of a language to honor their experiences and give context to what it is that they're moving through. Because I know for me in the past, when I was chronically overwhelmed and unable to do most things, the level of guilt and shame that came with that was equally overwhelming. So I found I'm definitely getting the sessions are smoother now that I'm taking the time before session to be like, right, this is what we're going to be doing. This is how this is going to look. This is like the steps that we're going to do. And being like, and this is how this piece could work. And especially for clients who are like very why motivated like me, you can see them they move from that piece of, I'm nervous about this, I'm about to have to close my eyes for a good few hours. They're going, right, okay, yeah, we're doing this together. And I think that's one of my favorite aspects of like, we're taking this journey together. We're working as a team.
You have to be comfortable with you. Yeah.
We're going to, it's so exciting. And I think that's needs to be noted as well. Like for anyone who's like, oh, I'm not sure about this, perfectly fine. I definitely was a skeptic coming into this. But there's a reason that a very high percentage of us do one RTT session and are like, I need to do this as my career. I have to bring this into the world. Like I don't know how many other modalities or processes are out there that have such a high conversion rate of, that was amazing. I would like to facilitate this for other people. Let's go.
Yes. I mean, I've met very few RTT therapists and practitioners who are doing this work that never experienced it before they signed up.
Yeah, that would be wild.
I've met a few.
Really?
But it's rare. More often than not, the therapist has done their own work and come to it that way. Or maybe they were searching for something and they took a class at Mind Valley with Marissa, or any number of ways they may have come to it. And they're trying to work through their own issue and they come to it through that way. But usually they've experienced it themselves. They've seen the profound change and healing that they've gained from it. And I know when I experienced it, I was like, wow, that was mind blowing. Why does nobody know what this is? And I want to do this. And how do you do this? I want to help other people just like me. And that was kind of where I started with. And it's funny because I don't know, thinking back to that very first session for myself as the client, I was such a skeptic. And I was sitting there, as you're going down into that trance, and I didn't fully understand how that was going to feel. And I always like to describe this to my clients because different people experience it different ways. for me, I felt like my mind had been split into two entities, my conscious and my subconscious. And it was almost like my subconscious mind is driving the car and my conscious mind sitting in the back seat. And maybe I had duct tape over my mouth and I couldn't talk, but I could see, I could hear, I could notice everything that was happening. And I'm sitting there consciously thinking as we're going through the beginning of the session, this is such bullshit. I've just wasted a bunch of money and this isn't going to help me. And I was literally thinking that as we're going through this. And I remember the beginning of the shift for me was, I think we went into a scene, a memory, and she's trying to, like, and the scene just comes to you easily, effortless, whatever. And I was consciously in my head going, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? I'm trying to search for this answer. And it was like, I could hear my own voice bringing forth this memory, this scene, and talking about it while I was observing it happening. And I was not consciously aware, because I'm over here in the back seat of the car trying to figure out what I'm going to say, but yet I'm already answering. And it was like, to observe that happening was super bizarre to me. And I just, from that point on, I just kind of sat back and went, okay, let's go, let's play. I don't know what's happening, but this is wild.
Yeah, like, we're in this, let's do this. It's brilliant, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Exciting. And I always love that in sessions with clients, is like, right, day or night, where are you? Being like, let's go. And I always, that moment of when, as soon as they start talking, I'm always like, and we're in. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
You kind of do you kind of hold your breath when you're going to that very first scene with a new client?
So it's like a micro rush. But also at the same time, if a client isn't seeing anything, that's equally fascinating. Because it's like, right, keeping us on our toes. What are we feeling if we're looking around? And I love that. Sometimes, people do. I had a client, an intake call today, and the client was like, oh, I think I experienced aphantasia. I can't see anything. And I think the centralized person would go, oh, you have aphantasia. You cannot see in your mind. And my mind's, and I'm thinking out loud with you. I'm wondering why that is the case. I'm wondering how it would feel, I'm wondering if you can imagine how it would be if you could see within your mind's eye. Maybe before we do our main RTT session, let's have an explore and see if that piece is coming in. We've already mentioned some big things that have happened in your history. How interesting would it be? Just that like you said, that curious playfulness. How interesting would it be if we've even created this perceived lack of inner vision? Do you want to explore that? And I think I really love just making everything an exploration. We don't have to do this. This could be interesting though. And that joy point of clients going, yeah, let's do it.
I mean, that's the labeling though, right? So some doctor, some therapist, somebody somewhere has told her she has aphantasia. So now she's internalized that, oh, I have this, therefore I can't. And that's become a limiting belief for her. You get that question a lot from people. Well, does it work on Zoom? Do they ask you that?
I think, they do people try to ask that, but once I'm talking, I get so passionate about things. I'm like, trust me, it's going to be idealized. Because I know for me, if I ever have to travel anywhere else, it's going to smell different. I probably won't like the chair. I'm going to have to go there. And then after you've been in trance for a while, the idea of then having to go home, it's a health and safety issue.
Yeah. And I mean, I think, to be indelicate, I mean, sometimes you literally let things go in a physical way, and you could have an urgent need for the bathroom. I have clients, often they need to use the restroom very quickly afterwards. And that's never an issue if you are in your own environment. And I find that especially if somebody's experiencing something that's making them very uncomfortable emotionally, they're in their own environment, they feel safe there, or they certainly should, it's their own environment, right? And they're completely relaxed and at ease and more themselves.
Like if when old tears come through and it's like it doesn't happen all the time, but some clients you just get a barrage of tears coming through, And I do agree with you. Now you say that's like, I don't think that would happen if you're in like a rented practice space together. Like,
and you feel really awkward, ugly crying, and then now you have to go out to your car and drive home.
Yeah, I think it is such a good point. I think I know it is jarring for people to be like, oh, like on Zoom, not sure about that. But really, as long as we can hear each other, I'd prefer to see clients. So we've got that in like that aspect there. But we can really just go for gold. And like you say, be in a position that feels good. I love it when clients are like, I just need to use the bathroom, and we're like midway. I'm like, literally, this is perfect. Don't worry. And I think for them, that's a good moment. I'm like, look, trust me, you haven't broken or ruined anything. You can take yourself straight back to where we were before, and we can continue. And you're advocating for your needs. So already, this is acceptable.
One time early in my practice, I failed to tell somebody that if for some reason they needed to get up to use the restroom, or, you know, they were uncomfortable, just let me know. It's fine. Just like in a Zoom session, if you lose your internet or your power goes out or whatever, I think it's fine. When it comes back, we'll just go back in and it'll be fine. So, but this poor girl, I did not tell her that up front. That was my learning lesson there. And she was getting really squirmy toward the end as we're working through the transformation at the end. And afterwards, she said, I have to go to the bathroom. And then she just got up and ran out of the room. And she came back and she told me that she'd needed to go for quite a while. Like, oh my gosh. It was like, you know, when I was still doing in person, and I said, you know what, it's fine. I mean, I wish you had told me. She said, well, I didn't want to spoil it for you. And I said, but well, you're obviously not in a hypnotic trance at that point anyway, if you're sitting there squirming in your chair, trying to hold it, right? So you're going to get more out of this if you go relieve yourself and then come back. It's fine. Yeah.
When we were training, you had to do like those like 10-15 practice sessions. And I remember I was paired with someone, and obviously when clients are choosing a therapist, they have all the space to be like, right, I resonate with this person, but this was just like a practice session. Remember, I didn't resonate with them in any shape or form, but it was interesting because I didn't resonate with them, Tricia, I was so squirmy the whole time. And normally like the ADHD piece kind of goes out the window when we're in trance because you're in like a different state of mind. I didn't stop fidgeting and I just wanted it to be over. But for me, that was that lesson of like, when you're working with clients, make sure that they feel really comfortable to work with you, but also really put things into place so that throughout the session, you are calming someone down, accessing that original state of space. Oh, something I also really wanted to say is my friend that I was telling you about, Roland Berg, he was saying that one of the reasons that he loves working virtually is that it's often the case that when people go somewhere, whether it's a seminar or to like wherever it is, the transformation happens within that room. And he was like, it's often the case that it happens like a Tony Robbins. You go to Tony Robbins, all the things, and then you go home and not much has changed. He's like, that's why I'm such a proponent of people doing the sessions in
their environment. Yes.
Because you've done the change there. You've generated that state of being, created the changes. You wake up in your room and there's no right, when I get home, it's going to be different. We're at home and it is different.
You're already at home and it is different. Yes.
Yeah. Like we've anchored it in.
Right now, in this space. It's a beautiful thing. Wow. Well, this has been a fabulous conversation. And I thank you so much for joining me today, Josephine. It's been a wonderful conversation and I appreciate you very much. That's all for today. Thank you for joining us on Metamorphosis Moments, the interview series. I am your host, Tricia Chandler, and I hope you enjoyed my discussion with Josephine Knechtli. Remember, you can always catch up on past episodes and stay connected to us both on social media. Until next time, keep embracing your journey of growth and transformation. Take care. And I'll see you again.